Let me introduce our scientists who are here today. Starting next to me, Dr. Willie Soon is an astrophysicist and a geoscientist. He's the editor in the area of solar and stellar physics from the scientific journal New Astronomy, and he's been recognized for his scholarship by the Smithsonian Institution. In the middle, Dr. Pat Michaels was the past president of the American Association of State Climatologists. He's the chair of the Committee on Applied Climatology of the American Meteorological Society. His PhD is in ecological climatology. He's been a research professor of environmental sciences at the University of Virginia for 30 years. And finally, Dr. David Legates, professor of climatology at the University of Delaware, the former Delaware state climatologist. And he earned consulting meteorologist status from the American Meteorological Society.
Really study and understand the numbers. You really need to understand all those numbers, what it means. I mean, those guys are just selling you a whole bunch of hot air, and it's really, really nonsense, actually.
Remember that all the climate change research money comes through Washington. 99.99% of it. Nothing comes out of Washington for free. And so the price of being in that community is being a believer. And that's how you get this so-called uniform consensus. Nobody's willing to step up.
Because your grant is funded if you say this is a crisis, and it's not funded if you say we don't know.
You know, my last federal money went away when I started complaining about this. So
yes.
My last federal money is 2004. I stopped. I quit. I decided no more federal funding. It's just a corruption of science.
Back in the 1930s, there were people that talked about the end of the world. And they would set, for example, on January 9th, 1933, the end of the world is going to come. And then on January 10th, when it didn't, they went back, oh, sorry, it'll be March 27th. And it didn't happen there. They kept moving it forward, moving it forward, moving it forward. The idea was to continuously scare you into action now because something is coming in the future. What they didn't realize is you got to put it just a little bit farther in the future, like 12 years. So that by the time 12 years comes around, people will forget that you made that proclamation. Somebody else will have come along and said, oh, well, now 5 years later, it's another 12 years. And so we just keep pushing it into the future. At some point, that's where we have to say, stop. What are we really talking about? What do we really know, and what do we really not know? And this is where the whole problem has become, is a lot of people pretend to know about climate, pretend to have studied it, pretend to come up with these answers, and then make these proclamations to scare you, to create anxiety among children, to create anxiety among the elderly, to create anxiety among everybody along, so that you'll do what we want you to do. And that's the whole point. It's not that it has anything to do with climate or climate change. It has everything to do with getting control.
I'd like to call it scientism. These guys are invoking science left and right and up and down and sideways and whatever way you want it. But not a single thing about science that they're doing. It's all the act of talking about science without doing science, without using the most holy methods of science, which is testing and verification and testing and verification.
When you have more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, the surprising thing is that plants are more water efficient. They get more carbon dioxide through the stomates. The stomates don't have to open as wide, they don't have to open as often, so they become literally more utilitarian of the water that they have. So if you're really concerned about the plants, more carbon dioxide makes them not just grow faster, but also makes them more water efficient. And it's one of the reasons why if you ever go to a greenhouse, a commercial greenhouse tends to pump in carbon dioxide like mad because they know it's plant food.
But most of these graphs don't make sense. This stuff about carbon dioxide is the greatest gift on planet Earth, put it this way. If we can release more of it, we should have a whole lot more of it, as simple as that. Because according to the satellite data, I mean, we've been greening the planet in a very, very nice way in a sense, because the planet is a lot greener. The plants are using much more efficient in terms of water, require a lot less use of water, so drought region becoming green, even in deserted area. These are all overall benefits overall positive effects on the planet as far as we can tell. By the way, this is the impact of atmospheric carbon dioxide. The impact on the temperature, we are unable to find it. I tell you that I've been studying this topic very carefully, only wanting to find the result on the impact of carbon dioxide on temperature, let's say.
Carbon dioxide is not the most important greenhouse gas on the planet. The most important greenhouse gas on the planet, bar none, is water vapor. Okay, and that's become the fundamental problem, is that water vapor exchanges information very fast. That is, it evaporates, goes in the atmosphere and precipitates, and in about the next 10 days, the entire quantity of water vapor in the atmosphere will fall on average precipitation somewhere over the planet. So as a result, carbon dioxide is not the most important greenhouse gas, water vapor is. I was at a U.S. committee hearing, I think it was in the Senate, and Senator Vittert, I believe it was, asked the question, and one person said, if carbon dioxide is such a important greenhouse gas, but water vapor is such more dominant, why aren't we regulating water vapor? And he said, because we can't put regulations on water vapor. That's what the whole point of this is.